Welcome to Useless Nipples,
a podcast about parenting, lifestyle, and everything in between with your host, Allie.
and Mike.
Woohoo! Episode 2. What's up, guys?
That should be the intro. Just you saying "What's up, guys" should be the intro for every episode.
I kind of like that. We could just start it there.
I love it. So talking today, not getting too heavy about it, but talking today about mental health, and parenting. I think that's super important. I think mental health in general for people is super important, and more awareness is being brought to it today or these days. So it's kind of nice to be able to talk about it.
Yeah, kind of bouncing off of last week's episode where we kind of touched on mental health, but we really felt like that is such a broad topic that really we could go into it a lot further, because I think it's something that everyone experiences. But before we jumped into the topic, Mike and I were saying we would love to give you more of an insight of what our relationship is and a little bit of our backstory. So Mike and I actually met when we were 11 in middle school. He joined the school in 7th grade.
7th grade.
Right. Okay. So in where we grew up, I know it's different from all states, but middle school for us was 6th, 7th, and 8th. So he kind of switched schools right in the middle of middle school. And it was an instant friendship. Like I really don't remember the first day we met. I just remember he had this backpack that had these pull things on it. Like, what was it? Like some kind of tightener, right?
Yeah.
And I would pull the crap out of it and then just elastic you, and it drove you crazy.
Well, going back a little bit before the backpack days, I do remember some of the first days. I remember, so I was at a private school, from preschool till 6th grade. I was at a private school. My parents split up about, what was it? I think right in like 3rd, 4th grade. It must have been 7 or something like that. So I was pretty young when it happened. And immediately after that, I started to kind of act out in class and act out in school. So I stopped doing homework. And at a private school, they're pretty on you, and so they jumped on it pretty quick. Then I had a little bout with some ulcers and stuff, and I had some medical problems. So I was out for a bit. So in 6th grade, I missed a large chunk of the class. Then I also wasn't doing the work. And long story short, they kindly made a phone call to my house and we would love it if Mike didn't return to school next year. So that was pretty good. I remember sitting at the chair listening to that voicemail. I was like, oh dang, I did it. I got kicked out. All right. Didn't think they were gonna do it. So then, my mom's in this pickle where she's got her youngest son going to this private school. The oldest one, I think he was in high school already. He's in high school.
Yeah.
And I'm in this middle ground of like, hey, Mom, I don't have a school anymore. So she goes, you know what? We live in this area. There's a school right down the street. You can walk to it because I got to drive. Your brother's everywhere. Mm-hmm. So now that's where you're going. And so I walked to this school terrified. I was brand new. I've been with the same kids my whole life. And, the kids were nice. Some guy grabbed me. I think his name was Michael Dobsek. I think he grabbed me. I think he was my guy.
Oh no! Don't tell this story.
It was so funny.
Don't tell this story.
Oh, we're walking around, and he's showing me. He's like, "Hey, this is the playground. This is a soccer field. This is the bathroom. There's a gym." And out walks this young lady, and he goes, "Oh, right over there." I'm like, "What is it?" He's like, "That's the hot girl in school." And he points right at Allie. I look over, and all you see is the bang. Oh man! And we'll have to do a picture of that at one point in the future.
I don't even know if I have a photo of those bangs.
There's gotta be something in the archives, because these bangs were outrageous. She would comb them, spray them down heavily. It was like honestly, if you were playing dodgeball, this is what you wanted in front of your face to protect you. They looked good though. They looked good. So that was the very first day.
Let me paint a picture so people can really understand the bangs. I'm going to tell you the process. In the morning when I would wake up, I would get my bangs really wet, so they were dripping. Probably the worst thing you could do for adding heat to your hair. Then I would take a huge round brush and I would put the bangs right in the middle of the brush, not spread out, right in the middle. Blow dry the heck out of them. keep the brush there, hairspray the heck out of it, and then remove the brush. And it was a giant wave. Like, you could probably hide things in there. Like, I probably could have like kept snacks in there. You know what I mean? I remember we had a friend who used to surf the wave consistently. Yeah. I wore that for a good, I think all the way until 8th grade.
And I mean, and she had multiple names, I believe at the time it was Alexis to start, So
Yeah.
we can get, I can give a lot of her secrets away, guys. Just give me time and I'll slowly bring them to the surface.
Oh, good, because I could do the same for you, buddy.
No, let's not. Maybe not. Maybe we just keep this on the parenting. But so that was day one of us meeting, and we had a couple classes together. The infamous backpack came out, I think, in 8th grade, and it was nonstop. I think I was wearing a lot of Axe body spray. That was a thing, kids did.
Oh, yeah.
It was a lot. So we grew up together in all this. And even after middle school, high school, all these things, like I could always go to Allie's house. I could always go see her parents. I could always go stay over there, and if I needed a break or an escape. So it was a constant, even into my 20s. If I really needed a place to go, I could always go there, and we did. Even in my late 20s, I was in a rough spot. Stayed there for a bit, and we actually got an apartment together with a third roommate, our friend Hannah, and and then it exploded, right? Then we all went into our different lives. I met my wife, her and Tom kind of did their own thing and started figuring out their lives, and fast forward.
Yeah, we've always been friends. There's never been a point in our relationship that we haven't been friends. We did go to different high schools, but that never kept us apart. I moved to New York for school. That never kept us apart. I moved to Austin. That never kept, we have just stayed consistent friends. And for those who don't know, my husband and I actually met when I was 16. I think Mike actually might have introduced us through mutual friends at a party one night. Yeah. And then Tom and I just kept running into each other from there. And I actually had a serious boyfriend for about a year until we broke up. And that's when Tom and I reconnected again. So at 18, Tom and I started dating. And it's pretty much been history from there. So that's how Mike and Tom are really good friends. And then I actually got the benefit to get to know Ashley a lot better, because yes, they started dating when we lived together in our apartment. But I didn't really get to know her that well at that time. And it wasn't until Mike and Ashley moved to Austin 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think
almost 3 years ago. Yeah. And they lived with us for a short while so they could find somewhere to live. And Ashley and I got to know each other really well. And from there, it's just been an instant connection. She and I are such good friends. So it's been such an awesome experience with them being really good friends, Mike and I being really good friends, Ashley and I being really good friends. This is a type of family situation for us. We could go anywhere and have the best time together. So I'm so blessed to have this relationship. I know Tom feels the same way. Hopefully you guys feel the same way. I know we can be a bit of a pain, but super blessing to have them in our lives. So when I had a child and they had a child, it was like just the best experience to be able to raise our kids together. So this podcast is really important to us because it is a point of view of a mom and a point of view of a dad from two entirely separate families. So our goal is, and our hope is, to be able to show you guys different points of views and different stories from different sides. Right?
Yeah, the benefit of doing this with Allie and our experiences in our life that we've kind of had together, we joke about it all the time, but it's like our entire friendship has been leading to this point. And it's kind of true, because I could talk about anything with Allie and I could be open and honest. And when you do a podcast, when you listen to someone and they brush over the heavy stuff or they brush over the uncomfortable stuff, it can take away from it. You want to get to that point where it's raw and honest, and like you're saying things that, like, oh man, I feel that, but I wouldn't say that. that's where we're at, that's at least with each other. And it's funny, there's a camera on us. We know we're talking to other people, we know people are listening. But when it breaks down to it, it's just Allie and I talking to each other like every single day, or like any other day.
Yes, this is no different for us, you guys. We could sit here and have this conversation for hours any given day. And if the four of us were together, it would be no different. So that's kind of the beauty. This is just life. We're not afraid to touch on the hard stuff. We'll do it anyways. Really, this is just an honest conversation between Mike and I, and we just hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we have kids, it gave us a great topic. It gave us a great springboard, but we could have talked about anything. We could have talked about jobs. We could have talked about health. We could have talked about, literally anything. And we have, and we do. So,
and we will.
And we will for sure in this, it'll creep in. But yeah, and so I have a 16-month-old son with my wife. So, when Jet was born, he's a little bit older. He was our teacher. Like literally, I was watching them, like watching Allie and Tom. Okay, how do we do that? Okay, oh, that's a diaper change. Okay, cool. Oh, beat on you. Okay, cool. All right, I gotta watch out for that.
He was your demo child.
He was, but he really was, and he was so great. And he was just, he was fantastic. He really helped us feel more comfortable. So when I went to hold my son, the first time I held Jet, I was like, no, I'm okay. No, it's okay. And she's like, hold the baby. And so I held him. I was so nervous. And
was it you that had sweat on the brow?
Oh God, sweat on the brow.
Like I handed it to?
Like, oh yeah, for sure. I went wash my hands 5 times. I was so scared.
You got to tell him what Ashley did. So Ashley was so nervous to come into the hospital room. Outside of every hospital door, there's like a hand sanitizer, and she comes in the room and her eyes are a little bit red. She was so nervous, she puts hand sanitizer all over her hands and rubs it on her face.
Just in case, you don't know. Germs are everywhere.
That's like my favorite story.
Poor face is all burning. Oh, but that gave us the door. I opened the door into like, okay, this is what being around a baby is like. Because I hadn't to that point. You see people's kids. You have friends with kids or babies, but like it was not the same. I would go over there. I would spend hours around that. I would watch them, doing their routines and learning their routines, figuring out their routines, what works, what doesn't. And I would just stand there. I'd love to just hold him and rock him. That was my favorite. Just like hanging out with JT and just putting him on the shoulder. It was so fun, and it gave me a little experience before my son got here, and I'm forever thankful to Jeff for that. He had no idea what a benefit he was.
Well, we're forever thankful for you guys, because you gave us a lot of help and occasionally much needed breaks, which kind of leads into the whole mental health situation with having kids. Yes, you have to take care of your mental health when you don't have kids, even if you're just in a marriage. It's so important to make sure you find a balance for yourself, because life can get so overwhelming. You get so caught up with work. You get so caught up with what needs to be done. You get so caught up with making sure everyone else is, at least as a mom's point of view, you get so caught up with making sure everyone is okay. Is the house taken care of? Is food in the fridge? Do you have dinner, prepped and ready to go? Is your husband have what he needs? Does your child have what they need? That so often at the end of the day, you're just trying to survive, especially with a newborn. And I think that's where mental health comes in even more so, because at that point, you're not getting any sleep. And if you do, you're so lucky. I know my child didn't sleep through the night until he was 8 months old. You probably aren't eating the same nutrition as you would normally if you didn't have a kid. Really, you're just trying to survive the day. And I remember when Jet got to be, he must have been around 15 months when I finally got a handle on being a mom in our daily routine and going through the motions and figuring out, okay, I can do this. It's not too bad. I can handle him on my own. I have it down pretty well. Granted, there's always going to be a new phase or a new season, as I like to call it, with raising kids. But it got me to the point where I could sit down and finally think, like finally feel like I could go through my thoughts. And it dawned on me that I was so consumed with taking care of everybody. I mean, I had things going on in my family life as well, not just my immediate family, that I realized I was not doing any. It's almost like I looked down at myself and looked around, and it was like, who am I? Like, who am I? I've been so caught up with taking care of everybody. I don't even take care of myself. I couldn't tell you the last time I showered. I couldn't tell you if I really had a meal or not. Like I couldn't tell you. I'm so consumed in making sure everything else gets done. I forgot about me. And if I can't take care of myself, how the heck am I going to take care of anybody else? And this wasn't even like, this is outside of the pandemic. So then add the pandemic on top of it. It's no wonder that mental health is such an issue, right?
Yeah. I mean, man, you nailed it on the head. Like, so mother's point of view, you just got it. You know what I mean? You just got it right there. That's, I think my wife would say that's spot on. I mean, everyone's different, but I think that for you guys, spot on. I mean, really what it is like you focus so solely on keeping this child alive, solely on trying to keep things in order, solely on trying to make it by each day, that at the end of the day, or even maybe not the end of the day, maybe a week or so, you're like, whoa, what the heck have I done for myself?
Mm-hmm.
What do I need? You don't even think about it. Excuse me, coughing up a bit. But the focus that the child needs at the beginning for the first year, it's almost impossible for you to even think about yourself. What your body's going through. Physically, I'm watching my wife have reactions to things that don't affect me. My son's crying. I'm like, okay, yeah, I hear him. Like, something's wrong. Let's figure it out. But she's like, no, he's crying. I'm like, yes, I hear him too. I'm not. I mean, I got some messed up ears. They're not that bad. And she's like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm feeling it. I'm like, how are you feeling? What are you feeling? I don't get it. But she is having a physical connection, real reaction to something that's happening to my son that I will never experience.
Right.
So beautiful, but also intense and like kind of scary. And I'm like, how do I? Both of them are crying now. Like, what's happening? What do I do? And I'm just in the middle. Like, okay, how do I facilitate this interaction?
Right, because it's so much easier for you to, it's not ignoring because you're very aware of it. And if you had to take care of it, right. And there's different sleep methods. And so I think you and I both did the ones where we did let our kids cry it out. I tried many, but crying it out was the best method for us in our family. And I think that you would probably say the same for y'all's family.
It took some time, but we got there, yeah.
Right. But there is a chemical reaction that happens because Tom had the same thing. He could just sit there and listen to him, and it pained me. Like, there's almost like there's a rope attached from myself to Jet, and it was just pulling me and just churning my stomach, and I could feel it on such a deep level, and it hurts. I would have to go into my bedroom and turn off the monitor and close the door because I could not listen to it. It just, everything in me wants to run upstairs to the room and help him. So yeah, that was a total tangent on feeling your baby crying, but that's a real thing. And that's another part of your hormones and the mixing of your mental health.
Yeah, you're talking about a physical reaction. And of course that ties with mental health, because like if you're physically feeling something, your mind's going that way too. And my friend Vivian out in Austin, she told me when you have a child, it's literally like having your heart outside of your body. Especially for moms, because it was inside of your body. You guys were connected to such a different level that you're taking a piece of your, like an organ or a vital piece of you, and saying, okay, you're out in the world now, don't get hurt. And that's when it's crying, when something's happening, when your baby's losing it. It's you. Your piece is hurting, so a piece of you is hurting. And for fathers, I feel like it's more like that for me now. Like, it continues to grow and become more like that. But in the immediate, it's like, okay, this little, from my head, I'm thinking logically, like, this small child needs something. This small human being needs food, diaper, something. What will sleep? I don't know what it is. but the physical connection was so different. So of course for Ash, it's at a level 10. I'm like at level 3. I'm like, okay, what does he need? I'm looking at him like I'm trying to study him. Like, what do you want? What do you want, buddy? You know, and she's like, he needs something. I'm like, all right, okay, what does he need? I don't know. So that's one piece. It's a very small piece, first year, right? That's like, I'm not knocking it, it's an intense piece. But that doesn't really stop ever, right? It continues on in different ways. Like you said, like it gets less when they cry. You don't react the same. It's not so physical. Maybe boobs don't get sore or ready for breastfeeding. Mine didn't do that. My wife did, again, useless. But these things change, and so like the physical side, especially for the mothers, in my experience, it dominates your life. It dominates you. It dominates your ability to think about anything else. It's just that. Yeah. So I don't know what did you do like to break that cycle? How did you get back to yourself?
Well, I mean, that's a really good question. Like I said, it took a good 15 months for me to even get to the point to realize that I wasn't getting back to myself. I think like you just get so consumed in making sure everything gets done. And really it's just surviving the day. It's not about if you're talking to someone who's an extremely clean person, right? I'm extremely clean. I like things in a particular place, a particular way, and done at a certain time. And I had to square with the fact that not everything was going to get done in the day. I think I still did a pretty good job of keeping things together, but you're really just trying to survive from the moment you wake up to the moment that child wakes up. There really isn't a whole lot of time in between for yourself. And I know everyone says, oh, well, nap when the kid naps, or, no, that's not a thing. That's when you have to clean or do laundry or whatever you need to get done. I also I work full time. So I would work at that point too. But one of the things that I think really before I fully realized that I needed to take care of my mental health, I think I knew a little bit. And one of the things that I would do for myself was when he would nap, I wouldn't do anything. I would literally go to my room, I would get in bed, or I would sit on my little couch. I would have a cup of coffee, a cup of tea. I would read a book. I would scroll on the internet. I would just relax. I would watch a show. Like that became my time. That was my time to do what I needed to get through the day. As small of a break as it was, I was not going to fill it with worrying about getting things done that could get done at another point. And I guess that's when I realized that how to prioritize and slowly start kind of moving me up to the top. So that's how I managed until the 15-month kind of hit me, where it's like, oh my gosh, do something. But until then, that's how I would be able to go through it. But I think of you because, especially you through this pandemic, Mike is a very strong-willed person. He's very routine in what he does. And for those of you who don't know, Mike is a professional fighter. So he does have a lot of testosterone in his body that he does need to get out. He needs to go hit bags. He needs to go hit people, or not anyone, but his sparring buddies. And when you have a baby, there's so much chaos going on. There's so much emotion going on. There can be so much strain in a relationship because especially if you tend to like attention, and now your wife, who used to give you all of that attention, now has to give it to the baby. And on top of it, because of the pandemic, you can't work out. You're not going to the gym. You're not going to fight. You can't even get a fight right now. There's so much pent up, I don't want to say aggression, because I don't think that would be the right word, but there's a lot of pent up energy. And I think of you, how did you get through that? Because that's a lot to take on.
Honestly, I don't know that I did. I mean, I just kind of, I don't know that I have a tool or anything for anyone. I just, I complained a lot. I complained a lot. I did. I know. And it was a constant back and forth of like, okay, I understand the severity of what's going on, but I also just want to like do what I want to do. And it's going to sound terrible about myself, but I built an entire life around doing what I want to do. So when she says it, it's not a joke. Like from like 13 years old, maybe even younger, I guess really since middle school, I didn't want to go to school anymore. I didn't want to do work, so I just didn't do it. Middle school, same thing. I didn't want to do the work. I just didn't do it. High school, they asked me to leave eventually too. I'm not recommending this to anyone. I'm not saying, hey, be stubborn and don't do what anyone tells you to do. But what I'm saying is that from a very young age, in my head, I was going to do things my way. And that's not good or bad or whatever. It just was.
Right.
And I from a young age, I found fighting. I think in the preliminary, it was more like it looks cool. But then I really found it. I really found myself in it. And I built this life, right? So training, working, teaching, doing all this stuff. I was like, I'm gonna make my whole life this thing, and then I'll be successful at it because there'll be nothing else, right? It's kind of like, oh, it's an all-encompassing thing. If you want to get really good at something, you just surround yourself with it. So that's what I did. Dated women, they were not about it, they didn't like it. They're like, hey, you broke. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's like, when are you gonna get a real job? I don't know. I'm not going to. I like doing this. And then I met Ash, and we clicked, like she worked really hard, I worked really hard. We came together, we built together. It wasn't like one of us and not the other. So we built this life together, we're doing all this stuff together, we're on track together, we're doing everything we want. We wanted to get a place together, we got a place together. We wanted to leave the state, go try out Austin, we did that together. And then we wanted to get married, we got married. Okay, we should have a baby, we have a baby. And then there's 3 of us. And it's like, okay, Ash and I, what's up? And she's like, hey, no. Like, instant. Oh shit. Okay, she's busy. Okay, cool. And I mean, how sad what I'm saying, but like, it's true. Like,
no, that's true. Hugely true.
I missed my partner. I missed my other half. I missed doing things together. I missed like being on the track together, because now, yes, we're on the track together. Yes, we're doing the same work. Let's help this child survive. But it's 90% her. Like I was telling like the group, right? I couldn't find my group. It was like her group. And also all my shit was stopped. All my stuff was like, that's enough. No gym, no nothing. So what did I do for myself? Slowly I bought a bag, put the bag up. I'm hitting the bag in the garage, sweating. It feels okay. Working out, okay, that feels okay. But nothing felt good, And then I was insecurities, no attention, feeling alone, feeling kind of like out of place. Like my wife wakes up every day with purpose. My wife has purpose every hour of the day, every minute of the day. This child needs her.
Yeah. I
wake up with no purpose other than like, how do I help around here? What do I got? Vacuum? I'll vacuum. I can do that. You want to watch him for a little bit? I'll watch him for a little bit. But he didn't need me. There was no need. It wasn't like you're providing a vital piece of this. No, not at all. It was literally like you're a passenger on this road. And that was the hardest thing for me. It really messed me up. It really messed me up for a while. When I say like, thank God for my wife, I'm not joking, because I was a wreck. I didn't know. There was moments where I didn't know I'd get back to what I was doing. There's moments where I'm like, this could be it. I might be done. I'm 32. This is a young man's sport. I love it. I want to take it further. I've always had aspirations to go farther, but this could be it. And on one hand, you're like, good, that's fine. Like, you have a beautiful family. What's the matter with you? You should be happy. On the other hand, it's like you've spent your entire life trying to do something, and you're in it, and then it just got ripped away. Not because of the baby, but because of COVID and everything else, it got ripped away. And then you have a baby on top of that. So it's never the baby's fault. The baby did nothing but be alive. He just happened to come in the weirdest time. He came in the weirdest time of my life. And so it was hard. It was frustrating. It was discouraging. And I was a royal pain in the butt to my poor wife. I needed reassurance. I needed to feel like we were still in it together. I needed to feel like I would get back. I was insecure beyond normal insecurities that we all have, and I have now. I still have them. Like, I'm not immune to insecurities, but when I'm working, man, when I wake up and I got client in the morning, got to do a session, got another client, gonna go lift, got to go 3 hours tonight. I'm doing 3 hours of training after bed, baby goes to bed. Those insecurities, I'm too tired to have them, right? I'm too on to have them. I'm too busy to have them.
But I think that's a really huge thing. And I don't, maybe it is, and I just haven't seen it, but I do feel like that's something that's not really touched on a lot. Before you have a baby, if you're lucky, you have a really strong connection with your spouse. And it is so much the two of you taking on the world. And then this baby comes, and I think people think about the mom so heavy, like, is mom okay? Is she taking care of herself? Postpartum depression is a very real thing for a lot of moms. I cannot imagine experiencing it. I didn't go through it, but I can't imagine having that on top of the strain that it creates with your spouse. And nobody talks about the dad. From my opinion, nobody talks about what is dad experiencing? Is he okay? I think it's really easy in our society to kind of shit on dad in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, it's true. I think it's so easy for us to be like, oh, well, dad doesn't have the same responsibilities. Oh, dad's fine. Oh, dad can just sleep in. Oh, dad can go poop in peace. Like, it's so easy or fun for us to say these things, but that is neglecting a human, in my opinion, because you have feelings, emotions, needs, and connections. And the person that you should have it the most with is your wife. And for a mom, it's almost like we're so geared to be like, okay, total shift. This is where our attention is now going to. Because really, we don't have the option any other way. This is a helpless child. There has to be a parent that provides that. And by nature, it's mom. And I know my husband and I went through the same thing. I felt like we were strained. I felt like the connection wasn't there anymore, but I felt like he didn't want to communicate with me because he felt like I already had too much going on. And I remember us driving in the car and I saying, I need you to talk to me. I need you to tell me, what are you feeling? What is going through your head? What do you need? Because if you and I can't be connected, we can't be good enough for our child. And I think people need to talk about that. That is so important, that you guys feel just as stable and supported and loved as we do, in my opinion.
The biggest gift I got from you, from our friend Vanessa, from whoever's around us, honestly, sometimes it's just a little bit. It's just something nice and small, but like when you guys would watch Johnny and we could just lay in the bed together. Yeah. And just sleep together, just be next to each other, hold each other, whatever it was. Maybe not even hold each other, but are you there? Okay. Like, I mean, fair enough. Maybe you cuddle is not your thing. I'm not a huge cuddler, but like at that time, I really wanted to be with my wife. So like, I was probably more. I was needy. That's a word, right? Like, yeah. There's nothing else. I was needy. So those moments of like, okay, someone's got the baby. We trust this. We're safe. Let's just lay together for a moment. Take that moment and then feel a little recharge about, okay, we are still in this together. We are still together. Like, and granted, yeah, it's easy to shit on dad. It's easy to be like, okay, what do you need? You're fine, but it's also valid because like, man, you're doing all this stuff and you want to take care of me too. Like, that's a lot. That's too much. The biggest problem for us in what we had, because we had blowouts, guys. I mean, blowouts. Like, we had the biggest fights of our lives. We didn't never really fight before. Like, we argued a bunch, we disagreed a lot. We're human. That's what we do. Like, I have my opinion. She's very different than me. We always found a nice way to do that. These were like real fights. These were really going like screaming like, you know what I mean? Like, kind of like, you don't understand. Oh, you don't understand. It's all that jazz. It was very new to us, very different, and so having experienced that was like so crazy. I'm like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why is that? Obviously, yes, my intention, like, obviously was to sever it. It was like, hey, you're busy, cool, but I had nowhere to go. I had nowhere to go to seek something else. I think Tom, as funny as it might sound, he worked really hard. He had work. That's not really an escape. Don't get me wrong.
No, but it is, because it does separate him from the house.
But and he's in a position of like, okay, people need me. Well, I'm at work. People need me. What do you want? What do you need, people? Come see me. I can help you out. It's a position of purpose.
Yes.
Also, I think he took a couple small days to himself to go hunt or whatever. Like later on, once Joe's Lord, took a couple days to himself to go do that. Beautiful, a little recharge, a little reset. Like, okay, I'm working hard. I'm at home trying to help my wife. I need a little reset. Cool. I think those things are so smart, and it can look from the outsider's perspective or someone else's perspective that like, oh, you're just going out and having a good time while your wife's no. Like, I have to do this too. Like you're saying, like it is easy to shit on it, but like if we don't take care of ourselves, mothers, fathers, doesn't matter who you are, you will not be the best for that child. So for the first year of my life, having no access to take care of my needs, I was not the best father for my child. You know, I was fine. I love him. Obviously, I was as good as I could be, but like I know that I could have been better. Does
Yeah,
that make sense? I'm
sure.
not saying I was terrible. I'm not saying I was a bad person. I'm not saying that I could have been better.
But you also don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, and like I never experienced that in my life. I had never been
Right.
out of a gym since I was 17 years old, 18 years old. I hadn't been out of the gym for more than like a couple of weeks ever.
Yeah,
That's weird. That's
that
a
is
weird
weird.
thing, you know. It's yeah, for me that was a hard thing to really. I don't have tips. My tips would be like, hey, there's no pandemic. Get a hobby that you can do like once in a while to get a recharge. Like that's my tip. Like, and send your wife out too, because like they need it
Yes.
too. I mean, especially, but like couldn't send her anywhere. Couldn't say, you know, maybe your house. I sent her a couple of times. I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
out, you know. But even then, she would want to bring the baby. I'm like, okay, well, that defeats the purpose. But I appreciate it. You know, it's like it is hard, man. I think that, you know, like you're saying, like, what did you do for yourself after the 15 months? And you said you kind of found a groove, you kind of saw yourself. Like, what was your go-to moves to say, okay, this is going to reset my batteries, this is going to recharge the batteries, get me going again?
Yeah. So again, I had that kind of epiphany moment where Jet was napping and I was downstairs in my room taking time for myself. And I was looking around. And again, I strongly recall this because it was in February and um, my parents were going through a really hard time. And I have been really tied into my parents' relationship way more than I should have been for a long time, which is something that we, have been going through and trying to get over in a healthy way. So they're going through a hard time. So I was very much caught in between making sure that they're okay, making sure Tom's okay, making sure Jet's okay. And I realized that this is not the direction that I wanted my life to go. I love being a mom. I love being a mom. I love being a wife. These are things that I adore. But I also really love being me. And it made me realize that I wasn't able to look in the mirror and love the reflection that I was seeing back. I wasn't able to see, of course, there's things in your life that you don't always love, right? And that is just the truth. But it was realizing that I was seeing what I was seeing because I wasn't taking care of me. I wasn't eating the way that I should have been eating. I wasn't going out to exercise or refresh my mind. And I just sat there and I said, Allie, you need to be a priority. For years and years and years and years, you have been your bottom line priority. You have put, even before children, you have put everything on top of it and left yourself for last. And I think that needs to shift. And I started realizing that even the way I spoke to myself wasn't healthy. And I decided from that point on, I would be the priority. And that doesn't mean that everyone comes last after me. It just means that my needs need to be met first before meeting everyone else's. Like a really good analogy that I love using is in the airplane. When the cabin pressure drops and the masks fall from the top part, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to put the mask on you first and then on your child. Because if you can't breathe or take care of yourself, you damn sure it's not going to be able to take care of that child. And for
Right.
me, that has that sat with me so hard. It has hit me and sat with me so hard.
Sometimes it does both. Yeah.
Sometimes it does both. That from that point on, I realized that I needed to be a priority in my life. So figure out what I needed. How did I take care of myself? How did I balance my mental health? What did that mean? Right? Like, because that's a really big question. What does that actually mean? And how do you implement it? So I've been learning how to do it from there. And it has made a world of a difference. Like realizing, hey, if I want to have a hot cup of coffee in the morning, I can sit down, have a hot cup of coffee. Jet can play. You know what I mean? I don't need to be doing things immediately, but if immediately to make sure everything is running correctly and that day is going to okay, the day will still be okay if I sit down and have a hot cup of coffee.
Right.
Like that's not going to end. I don't want to be the mom that reheats her coffee 3 times. And I know that there are moms like that, but for me, a hot cup of coffee in the morning is my priority. So that's kind of right. That's what I would do for my mental health, making sure that I go out on a walk. And for a lot of people might not agree with this, and that's fine because I think parenting is to each their own. And as long as
Right.
your kid is happy and healthy, I really don't care what you do as a mom, as long as you're not doing, obviously
Right.
the things that you shouldn't be doing. But putting my child in daycare has been a lifesaver because it's providing him an education, it's providing him fun, he has friends, he loves it. It provides things that I can't personally provide at home. Now, I'm not saying daycare is for everybody, but for me, and because I work and I have to run a house and I have to all these things in the world, it gives me the chance to do me. And that
Right.
has been key for my mental health. But I wanted to ask you, when you guys went through these big things, because I think healthy relationships is also a part of mental health, how did you guys kind of come to the terms to figure out what worked for you? Because I do know that you guys were going through some fights and you had some disagreements because you do see things differently, which is beautiful, but at the same time can kind of clash. How did you guys get to the point where you could balance it and be on the same page?
It's a good question. Honestly, God, for lack of a better term, I caved a lot, and then I just suffered in chaos. I didn't suffer in silence. I say very loud about it. That was a big part of the problem because I felt like I was caving. It didn't feel like a mutual agreement. It felt like, and that's a hard thing to do. Let's talking about that. Expressing needs and finding ways to fulfill two people is a hard thing to do that we're not taught in school. We're not taught in conversation. We're not taught to do this and express needs. We're taught to say, hey, you need to stop doing this. Hey, you need to really cut that out. Hey, you. We're taught to attack. That's what we're taught. And it took me a year. I was reading a book on this. It's called Nonviolent Communication. I specifically bought it. I heard about it. I bought it because I'm having a son. I'm having a kid, right? Not just because I'm son. I'm having a child. And I wanted to be able to communicate with my child without saying, hey, you really need to knock that off. You are really messing up. You personally are hurting me. That's not the truth, right? That's not the truth. That's not really what's happening. Things are happening and I feel some type of way about it. I have a need. Maybe I'm scared. Hey, I'm scared if you do X, that Y and Z is gonna happen. All right, cool, fair. I hear that need. This is my need is that like I'm not mentally the best of myself and I need to do whatever, X, Y, Z. We're not taught to do that. We're taught to attack. So my wife and I spent a lot of time attacking each other. It's like, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, until we both just say, oh, that's enough. Not resolved, but we're done yelling at each other or arguing. So not until things calmed down with the pandemic and not until during the pandemic, we lost our jobs, we ended up moving back to California. I came up in California, born and raised out here, trained out here my whole life, had a team for a long time. I had my longtime head coach, Adam Lynn, group at Fighter MMA. So we came back. We have our family here. My mom's here. Everyone, like my grandparents, everyone. So we had a little more help. And the talk was, okay, when we get back, we'll open up a little bit. We'll get back in the gym a little bit. And like that was kind of the comment. So it was like hold strong until we get back to a position where we feel a little safer. Because the fear was more the driving force behind not doing this.
Yeah.
And again, like validated. It's valid. If you're really scared about something, that's valid. Like you might be wrong. It might not be as dangerous as you think it is. But the feelings you have are real.
Yes.
So let's get that right. Like the feelings
Absolutely.
you have. You know what I mean? Like nobody can take that away. So Yeah, we might disagree on the level of scary, but however, I can't tell you to feel less scared. I can't make you feel that. So again, it's all valid. And the need was to protect our son. That was the need. The need, and that's a very understandable need. And it's like I get it, you get it. We're on this. We can agree that. I guess that's what we kind of found the middle ground. It's like we agreed it to protect it.
Hmm.
So we got back to California. Things started to like calm down. We had family around. We had a little more support. We had a little more help, a little more hands on deck. And so I started to venture, and that was really helpful. But it was a slow process, you know. And of course, I start to venture. I start to get back into training. I'm going places that are maybe having us test, having us do stuff just to be extra careful. Which, when you come back to your hometown and you got your home gym, and you're like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna go to this place because they're testing and doing whatever," and they're like, "Why wouldn't you come here, bro? This is your home." And I'm like, "I will, but not yet." It puts a rift between people, right? It's like, cool. Now they're feeling like this guy don't want to be with us. All right, screw this guy. And I'm like, no, I do. I just right now I got other things. I gotta. I'm trying to meet in the middle here. So it was hard, man. I felt torn. I felt very torn in a lot of different ways. And to make matters worse, I came back I'm very mentally, when I get my mind up, I really want to do something. So I came back
Yes.
ready. I came back ready, and I told my coach, "Hey, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this." And I was like, "Hey, you know what? You're not testing. I'm gonna go this way." And so my coach was like, "What the heck?" Whiplash. Like, oh shit! You know, I thought we were doing something. And so, long story short, I go somewhere else. They have an outbreak, COVID. I was training in the room with people, someone who was positive, and I'm like, "Oh, this is like." I mean, I think it's like right before. Oh, was it Christmas or something like that? Right before Christmas or Thanksgiving, it's something like some holiday.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Terrifying. So I'm like, okay, so I get tested, I'm fine, I'm negative, and my wife's negative, and we're good. But then it's like, take a break. Right? We mentioned that. Now we're gonna take another little break. So
So
it
you
was
were
these,
back in your not being able to do what makes you mentally stable.
yeah. So you asked me, how did we find another guy? We didn't. We just kind of rode this roller coaster of emotions up and down. And we're like, we try to come back and try and come back and try and come back. And with it was my mental health. It was up and down, up and down, up and down. And some days I'm great, some days I'm terrible, some days I'm great, some days I'm terrible. And like it really was what it was. It was a terrible roller coaster of emotions until we now are, you know, full force and getting back to it and feeling good
Yeah.
about it.
But I think you kind of did answer it in a sense, and maybe you did. I think you found Johnny as your bottom line.
Yeah. I mean, when you, like I said, expressing needs, if someone says, "Hey, don't go out, don't go to the gym," screw you, man. What do you mean? Like, what? I'll fight you. But when they say, "I'm scared and I have a need to protect our child," it's hard to argue that. It's hard to be like, "Well, no, that's stupid." Like, that's not stupid, man. And like, you might feel defensive and want to lash out and do all that. But the reality of it is that that's not dumb. I get that. I
Yes.
understand it. You know, and when you know your partner well and you know their background, their experiences, and you can understand where it's coming from, that's where we found our real peace. That's where we found the peace, right? That's where we found our moments of like, okay, I get it. I'm not happy. I'm not happy. Very much not happy. I'm going to tell you again how not happy I am. But I do understand.
Yeah.
And that's how we found it.
Right. Plus, I think you know your wife well enough to know she supports you so much in all of your endeavors. I don't think there is a bone in Ash's body that would say, no, don't do this, unless she felt really strongly.
Yes.
Because she also knows how important it is to you.
That's a really good point. And I think some people were confused by that. I think some people thought, oh, maybe Ash doesn't want me to fight anymore or something, or doesn't want me to go back to that world, or wants me to go do something else. That was never the case. It was always about getting back to fighting. It was always about getting back on track. My insecurities of not knowing whether that was going to happen or not were my own.
Right.
She was always like, look, it's just a small time. It's a weird time, but like, you will eventually get back there. That was always the plan. It was never like, you're not going to get back there. And I did have like recently a pretty like hard day, and I was thinking about everything. And like, it was so nice because she came up to me. She was able to ask me, like, "Hey, do you even want to get back to what you were doing? Is that still something you desire? And that's something I never asked myself. I hadn't asked myself in 15 years, something like that. I never
Right.
asked, do you still want to do this? Is this something that you enjoy, or is it just something that you're doing because you've done it for 10 plus years?
Yeah.
And that was a really nice moment that my wife and I got to share, and like we got to really like kind of dive into like, yeah, and you know what? I still love it. I still want this. I still want to compete. And just for everyone knowing, I actually have signed for another fight in August. So I'm super excited. I'm getting ready for that. So early August, I will be back in the cage, and almost a 3-year layoff, almost 3 years
Yeah.
without a competition. So yeah, having a good partner, having someone that supports you, it's not like just out to, she's never trying to take things away from me. She's only trying to help me. It's like you and Tom, you guys work together. Like Tom might have a really bad day, or you guys might disagree on something. But if you really listen to the base need of it all, it's always to help the family. It's never like, I don't want you to do this because I'm mad at you. Like, it's not that. It's not spite. It's not anger. There's always a base need of like, I'm worried about our family, or I want to protect our family, or I want to help our family, or I want this to better our family.
Yeah.
When things come from that, it's just about how to word it. It just becomes how to like express that need. And I think that is the hardest thing for us. And I think that's why mental health gets such a bad rap, getting back to it. It's like mental health is hard to express.
Yes.
Because if you don't understand it, if you don't understand your need, how can you ask for it?
You actually make me think of a really kind of important topic as for a mom. Yes, it's very hard because if you don't understand what you need, how are you going to explain that? And it's funny because one of the things I wish I could have conveyed to my husband a little bit more when Jet was little was that please don't ask me what I need, just do it. Because as a mom or a person in general, especially for me, because I'm more type A, so I feel like I can do it and I will do it and I don't need help doing it. So that is really encompassing mental health too, because when you have a kid, if I ever learned a lesson, it was that I cannot do it on my own. Of course you could, but you should not do it on your own. I always think that it takes a village to raise a kid. And I know I have made the joke so many times, why do you have 2 parents? You should have 4.
Yeah.
So that those parents could take a break and help each other.
Yeah.
But Tom, so much of the time, and I know he felt like he was helping me by saying, hey, what do you need me to do? But it's like, listen, the last thing I want to think about is thinking about what I need you to do. Just do it. If you see me struggling, take the baby and say, hey, go take a break. Or, hey, I can see you're kind of tired. Why don't you go lay down? And vice versa. But I think moms are a little bit more on that because we're like the ones so much in the know, like everything is in our head, right? Everything that needs to be done or that we should do is in our head. We keep it there and we just kind of roll with it. It's not like there's a list on a whiteboard on your kitchen that says, hey, these are the things that need to be done on a daily basis, or this is what I need to do today. So it's not something that you could look at and be like, oh, look, she also needs to do this. I'm going to go do it for her. So I get that. It's not like this a readily available list for you guys to see. But you've lived with us long enough to know what does need to be done on a daily basis. And as the kid gets older, you do need to see what his needs are. And if I could just go back and have Tom say, hey, I got it. Why don't you go take care of yourself? Or like, why don't you go get your nails done? Instead of me having to plan it, I do wish I could go back and change that. And he has very much said that. I remember a couple weeks ago, we were sitting down writing a list of things that you would do differently, things that you didn't know then but you know now about having your first baby. And I was writing them all done and I asked him, I said, hey, what would you do differently? And that was like his number one. I wish I would have just done it instead of waiting for you to tell me what you need. I wish I should have just done it. And I appreciate that because that's so much of the truth. And for me, that would have been taking care of my mental health.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what I need,
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And that's totally understandable. And I think the scary part is at the beginning when you're a new dad too, it's like you don't want to overstep. Like, what if I go? And then doing it the wrong way, doing it like there's so many insecurities of like, oh, if I do this, like what if she gets mad at me? And like, what I mean? You almost avoid it. And at some point, you're right. It's just like, who cares? Just get it done. Just go in there, take the baby, do whatever needs to get done. Make her go away.
And like push her, right? Because so much of the time you could even, and that's the hardest part, and that's on us as a mom, but you could even see it say, hey, you need to go lay down, and us very much being like, oh no, I'm fine, I am fine. No, take the baby.
Yeah.
Tell her, go. I'm not letting you have this baby back until you go do something for yourself. Like, push her out the freaking door. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So much of the time, I feel like that's what moms need. Not just saying it.
Right. I feel like it can only come from someone like a partner, or like maybe a very, very close friend. Like, I think you could do it, right? Like, you can do that to ask, hey, you gotta go.
Yeah.
Like, but good luck anyone else trying to do that to me. Good luck trying to do that to my wife. Like, yeah, you better watch out. You think I'm a fighter? Like that chick will knock you out. So like, it has to come from that. Like, there's a certain small group, maybe 1 or 2, 3 people that could do that for a mother. But if you are in that, no, then yeah, I mean, take this advice. This is it. Like, yeah, like the naps was my favorite. Like, if people come in and say, go nap, right? And to her, go lay down. That was like, oh, thank you. I didn't like, even she's no. And I would like grab her, drag her, throw her in the bed. Come on, we're napping, like saving grace, those naps. Even for our relationship, for our minds, for our bodies, saving grace. So yeah, like if you can do that respectfully, and if you are one of the few, respectfully, you can do that for a mother, then yeah, I think this is great advice.
But vice versa for a dad too, because I know there were times that Tom wanted to be there to support me, and I could just see that he was struggling, and I could say, no, go lay down, or go hunting.
For sure.
Get out of the house and go do something. I could see that you really need it, because you do take on a lot too, as much as we do.
Yeah.
It's just very important that as a couple, you guys find it's not really interesting. I think it's really interesting. I heard this saying a couple weeks ago, and it was a guy talking about marriage and how did he have such a successful marriage? And he said, because I realized my wife is my priority, my children, or my responsibility. And I think that is huge, because if you guys need to be, or Tom and I need to be the example to Jet. And if we're not putting the priority on our relationship to be that, that's not healthy for him. We cannot be what he needs if we aren't taking care of each other. Right? Because so much of the time, I think it's a little bit warped where the children become the priority and then the husband is just the responsibility. Like, you're just there, you just, I'll take care of you when I can.
Right.
But for me, kind of having that click and sit in and realizing, oh my God, yes, my husband is my priority and my child is my responsibility. Jet still is loved. He gets everything he needs from me. I will always take care of that kid, my child that I love very much, but he will always have what he needs. And I will wake up every day being the best mom that I can possibly be. But my husband needs a wife and a partner and a teammate. And I think that ties in a lot to mental health, that if we can help each other, because you can't do it alone, and try to recognize what each other needs and be an advocate of that in each other. I think that is huge, in my opinion.
I love that. I love that you're saying that. I think it's got a bad rap. I think people are like so into this, like, oh, your husband or whatever, women's job isn't to be a wife anymore, or it's not necessarily. Dude, it's not like that. That's not what we're saying. I'm not saying that Allie's going to stay in the kitchen cooking all day for her husband only and ignore her child. That's not what we're saying. Right. And I don't know if anyone even thought that, but I'm going to say I thought that, because like, okay, that could sound this way. And vice versa. Like, we have to do that for our wives. I love my teammate. Man. I want to pump her up. I want to get her going. I want to make her feel good. I want to make her feel special. I want to make her feel like she still is my priority in my life, And yes, like, our son gets all of that too. All of that. He gets so much love. It's ridiculous. This boy gets so much love. But I love what you're saying in the sense of remembering that these people aren't another thing in your house, right? Like, okay, this is going to sound bad. My poor dogs. They're just a couple other things in the house. I love them so much. And like, we walk, we go to the park, and they play. But like, a lot of times they're just chilling outside with each other, and thank God there's two of them because they love each other and they play a lot. But it's not because I'm out there with them, you know what I mean? I'm not chucking the ball anymore. I'm not, you know, it's if my son's not out there, I'm inside with him, you know. So, but they aren't that. They aren't your pet. They aren't something that you can just kind of discard. Like you guys were a team together. You guys came into this together. If that was your situation, right? Again, not everyone's like this, but for us, that was a situation we all came into this together, staying together, on it, doing it together, and not thinking of the person as another burden, not thinking of the person as like, oh God, okay, I'll get to you later. Okay, like you're saying, like it's not like even just a physical thing. Like it can even just be a conversational thing. Like, oh, you want to talk again? Okay, what do you want? What do you want now? Right? I've been with a kid all day. What do you want now?
Right.
That shouldn't be it. It's like, okay, hey, tell me what you need. Like, I'm not saying that you're gonna have the ability every day to say, yeah, burden me with your shit. but to remember that it's both of your stuff, right? Like their problem is your problem, and but their successes are your successes.
Right.
Perspective shift, right? Perspective shift. And that's kind of what you're saying. Is like your perspective shift when you heard that. I think it's beautiful. I think it should be implemented more in relationships because I can't tell you how many people I've seen in life and just in general, even in passing, where you're like, okay, it's obviously a rift in there. Like there's obviously
right.
They even react to us when they're saying like, okay, whatever, dude, shut up. Like it's like you're a bird. That's a woman, you know. Same with the guy, like, oh yeah, but yeah, okay, wife, thanks, yeah, enough.
Yeah.
So like two sides of the same coin. Like
right.
If you feel like a burden to your wife, then you're gonna make her feel like a burden to you, and it just becomes just like, oh.
Right, because here's how I see it, and I know that we're getting a little long-winded, so we probably should hone it down. But I just want to. Here's how the way that I really incorporate it, the way that I see it, and the way that I feel it so deeply in this relationship. You have your children, you love them. Oh my God, you love them. We all know that, and you want to do the best for them every single day. Yes, but your children don't stay with you for the rest of your life. If you raise them, you know, yes, there are situations where they do, but really the ultimate goal is to raise a strong child who you can send out into society, who can do well, be good, be successful, be a good human, and live a life on their own. They, you know, hopefully the goal is they meet someone, maybe they don't, maybe they find a job they're super passionate about, maybe they travel the world. But at the end of the day, that child is going to go off on their own and create a life for themselves. That's the goal, creating a successful, beautiful life for themselves. What does that leave you with? You and your spouse. One day your children will fly the coop and it will just be you and your spouse. And if you shifted that and made your child your priority and your husband your responsibility, you will not have that relationship that you so much need when they leave, because you guys, that's what you have. That's what you will be left with. But if you keep it while raising your kids as your husband is your priority and your child is your responsibility, you will always have that strong connection within each other. And to really incorporate the mental health situation, if you can keep a strong platform for you and your spouse by making each other the priority and really understanding how each other works and what they need and seeing that, like Tom, very much I can say, hey, you know, today I'm going to need to do this. This is just going to be something that I need to do. And he said, yeah, got you 100%. I got Jet, you do what you need to do. And vice versa. He can come to me and say, hey, I need to do this. This is a priority. And I can say, absolutely, you got it. I got Jet. Have fun. Don't even worry about us. But that is balancing what we need from each other instead of keeping it strained and arguing and not having a connection. Like for us, when Jet goes to bed, that is Tom and I's time. It's not a time that we're scrolling on social media or ignoring each other, or I go and do this or he goes and do that. Like, no, we sit down, we talk about our day, maybe we watch a show, but that is our sacred time that we have implemented. And I know that there are so many avenues that we could go with mental health, and this probably could turn into, like, I don't know, a 20-part series.
Yeah.
But to remember how important it is to keep that connection with your spouse, to communicate and tell them what they need. And you're right, just because you don't understand it or you don't agree doesn't mean that the feeling is not real. Right. And I think it's very easy to negate people's feelings. So the fact that you could do that, or Ash does that for you, oh my God, that's huge, you guys. Yeah. Huge.
I will open this up to, like, just in general too. I mean, my mother was a single parent of 3 boys, and I mean, she did what she had to do, right? She really did. She really made her priority the children, and that in that sense, like I get it. Like no one's knocking anyone who has done this. No one's knocking it. It's like even if you are married and your perspective is key right now, no one's knocking you. No one's saying that you're messed up, you're flawed. But what we are saying is that like that teammate, it could be your spouse, it could be a close friend, it could be a brother, it could be someone that you can just like like a teammate, a partner, a friend, a support system, a support line. It doesn't have to be every day, but like if you remember to, if you're alone, prioritize yourself. If you're with a partner, prioritize each other. Get on the same team. I think that is the ticket to like staying sane. That is the ticket to being able to go through life and feeling fulfilled. Because I think my mom was happy as can be. She's so proud of her kids. She's the best. She's loving it, But as her 32-year-old son, I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, I wish you had more for yourself.
Yeah.
I wish you had more. I wish you would have gone out. I wish you would have, found the things that you love and had your passions and maybe even, dated or met someone, And it's like, it's not good to want for other people, but like that's as a son, like I tell, like, you just want your mom to be happy. And I know she's happy, but at the same time, like I know that there's more in life that she could have had. She really could. She could still. She's a very still very young. She's still out there. She's very active. She can kind of go get it now. But as simple as like being able to sit down and say, like, what do you love? I'm like, what do you really like to do? What do you really enjoy? Like, I fear that like even for my wife that it'll eventually just be like, oh, I just love doing whatever my son wants to do. That's a fear of mine. I'm scared of that. I don't really, because that takes a little bit away from like yourself. Like,
Right.
What do you like to do? Like, what do you like? I know what I like. I know what I do for myself. That is a piece that gets lost. And I'm talking about that is mental health, man. If you lose yourself in something else, and sometimes this happens with partners, right? Sometimes this happens not even with kids, but like I've lost myself in this partner, and so now I'm doing everything that this partner likes to do, and I've warped myself into this person.
Absolutely.
That happens too. And so like just remembering yourself, remember that if your partner or your spouse is not another burden, is actually something that you should enjoy. And if you don't, maybe that's a different topic for a different day. But man, my mom had to get out, and my dad, they had to split, they had to figure it out. So fair enough, like I don't know, I don't even know where I'm going now, but like my point is that it's not always married couples. You got to focus on yourself. You got to know what you like. You got to prioritize yourselves. And if you are in a marriage, like definitely prioritize your partners. I think that's beautiful. I really love what you're saying. Even for our house, like I know that we can falter there. I know that. I know that I do it. I know that she'll do it. And it's something we can get better at. So I actually appreciate what you just said.
Yeah, it really sat with me and really kind of changed how I think. But I think to close it out, what Mike and I are truly saying is your kids are going to be happy the time that you spend with them. If you're there, if you're present, if you take care of their needs, if you are available, your kids will grow up and be successful and happy. And you can still take the time for yourself, and it's not going to change it. It doesn't give them less. It doesn't make them needy. If there is a way to do it, but you've got to find that balance, because taking care of your mental health is the key to make sure that you can take care of everything else.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. That's the nail on the head. A beautiful way to close it out. Beautiful said. Take care of yourselves, guys. And again, I know we went on crazy tangents. There's a lot we're talking here. There's a lot,
Yeah, so, hope you guys can keep up with us, because that's probably how it will be.
Yeah, fair enough. We tangent often. Yeah, thank you, Alec. Thank you. This is great. This is so much fun.
Thank you, Mike. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed episode 2 of Useless Nipples podcast. We can't wait to see what we come up with next week, but stay tuned and we look forward to chatting with you soon.